Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to start. Can you please sit down? Thank you. Can we just make just before we start, Bill? Just before we start, I'd just like to make an announcement on the badges. Please remember that you have to return your badges to the Secretariat before you leave. And we have your names and the badge numbers, so we will follow you up if you don't. Thank you. And we have remote participation, and when the chair calls your name, can you please remember to say your name very clearly for the transcribers and also for interpretation, your affiliation and whether you're speaking for yourself or for your organization. And also, we do have power in the room, but it's down below the desk. You have to go right down below and you'll see the power plugs. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure to see you, so many in the room. Let me introduce myself for those who do not know me. Jan Skarklinš, Ambassador of Latvia and Chairman of the Multi-Stakeholder Advisory Group of IGF. This is our second face-to-face meeting in this cycle of preparation of Brazil IGF 2015. And first item on our agenda is adoption of the agenda of the meeting. The agenda was circulated prior to the meeting. We had a discussion during the conference call, and we tried to accommodate proposals that were made by MAG members. This meeting, first and foremost, is to collect comments of different stakeholders during the open consultations this morning and this afternoon, and share information which is relevant to preparatory work we are doing. And tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, the main task is to finalize a selection of the workshops. And this year we have a very challenging task to select approximately 100 best workshops out of 240, which have been submitted by different proponents. So let me very quickly go through today's proposed agenda and see whether there would be any comments or suggestions. So we would, after adoption of agenda, we would listen the update from the host country on state of preparations. Then we would maybe see if there are any non-MAG member in the room who would like to make any comments of general nature. After that, we would listen briefings on different initiatives related to IGF, like GIPO of European Commission, Global Forum on Cyber Expertise of Netherlands, Net Mundial Initiative. That would naturally lead us to a further conversation and decision on establishment of liaisonship between IGF, MAG, and NMI Council. And after that, we would talk about the structure of the IGF and main sessions. We would try to identify what would be the right topics for the main sessions and appoint facilitators. In the afternoon, we would continue the work on this topic if needed, and otherwise we would talk about intersessional activities, preparation for IGF, first and foremost on policy menus for connecting next billion, intersessional work stream, and then we will examine the state of play on best practice streams, all 6 that we have identified for 2015 IGF. And finally, at the end of the day, time permitting, we would break and would leave some time for best practice teams or dynamic coalitions to meet and further their work. So that is for today. So with that introduction, I'm seeking your advice whether the proposal would be acceptable or not, and I recognize Marilyn. Please, Marilyn, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. And thanks to the Secretary. My name is Marilyn Cade. I wish to support the agenda, but I would like to propose one small addition, and perhaps it could come under 4, or it could come under in this afternoon, and that is, I'd just like to ensure that we add to our discussion a consideration of a roundtable or a special session for the national and regional IGFs. Thank you.
So thank you very much. Noted. May I take that with this proposal, agenda is acceptable? Yes, thank you. Then we can proceed to the next agenda item, and that is briefing on the state of preparation by the host country. Hartmut Glasser, please, you have the floor.
Good morning. My name is Hartmut Glaser. I am the Executive Secretary of the Brazilian Internet Steering Committee and the organizer of the event in Brazil. I am the local coordinator related to all infrastructure for IGF in Brazil. Please, if you have your computer connected, igf2015.br is the website. igf2015.br. This is the beta version. We need to improve some details, but I like to underline 3 points. One is the visa related questions. 1 point is related to the hotels, and the other point about flights. And you can navigate on this website very easily, and you can see all the details. Exactly on the screen you will see shuttle, flights, tourism, visa, and hotels. So you can go to this website and you will see that most of the information already are there. The conference center is a new conference center in the city of João Pessoa. I think we need to try to speak this correctly, João Pessoa. I know that Mark from England is training. João Pessoa, again, João Pessoa. Is a nice city in the northeast. The first city in the morning who receives the sun in Brazil is João Pessoa. So it's the easiest distance from Brazil to Africa. You can swim over 2,000 kilometers, so it's shorter to go to Africa than to go to South Brazil. We have a very, very good meeting there with United Nations staff, and Janice also was there. We go to all facilities, we visit some of the hotels. Everything is already in place. You have a lot of selections, options for the hotels there. Probably some concern will be related to the flights. When you see the page with the information about the airports, we recommend that you arrive in Brazil through 4 or 5 airports. One is São Paulo, one is Rio de Janeiro, one is Salvador, and one is Brasilia, the capital. International airports with international connection, and from these airports you have non-stop flight to João Pessoa. In João Pessoa on the airport is a domestic airport, it's not an international airport. You will have transfer to all the hotels, and from all the hotels will be transferred to the convention center. So everything is in place, everything is contracted, everything is already there. Next week on Tuesday, I will be there again to check and to have the final decisions with the local authorities. But we have very high-level meetings with security, with all the tourism agency. Everything is in place. Probably you can navigate and see details, and I prefer, Mr. Chairman, if there are questions, to answer questions, and I don't need to spend more time. Shuttle, flights, tourism, visa, hotels, everything is there, and more information will be coming day by day after this week. I wait to include our website in the IGF website so that we will have connection on both. So I am ready to answer a question. I hope that will be easy questions. If it will be complicated situation, I sent this to our ambassador. He can answer for us. Thank you.
So thank you very much. Now floor is open for any questions you may have to Brazilian hosts. Just to confirm that the meeting place, I think, is really extraordinary and one of the best IGF had in these past 10 years. The meeting place will be away from the city, from hotels, and transportation will be arranged. We also spoke about IGF hotspot on the beach in one of the hotels, and but not in the morning as initially Brazilian host suggested, but after the day where people could meet, relax, rub shoulders, talk further, and enjoy Brazilian hospitality. So that is what we also thinking to arrange. And I hope that Hartmut can confirm that hotspot will be arranged.
Yes, for sure.
So please, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Andrea Sachs. I am the organizer or convener of the Dynamic Coalition on Accessibility and Disability, and I'd like to address our representative from Brazil to ask a question. I will go through your website. Are there special arrangements in place for persons with disabilities, both physically and possibly blind, to be able to navigate once they get to the airport, to be able to get to the hotels? And also, are the hotels prepared to reserve rooms specifically for persons with disabilities, so they're not given to people who are not persons with disabilities? Is there anything organized? And if there is not, I'm really happy to help, because there are ways of making this sort of thing easy for persons and putting things on the web. As I said, I haven't had a chance to go through this website yet, but I would be pleased at the break to have a conversation regarding that. Thank you.
So thank you very much for your question. Any further questions to the host country? I see none. Hartmut, would you like to respond?
Very short answer. Yes, most of the hotels have facility for access. In relation to the airport, there will be reception on the airport for everyone who is coming, and the transfer will be from the airport to the hotels. So the website already mentioned this, and there are some selected hotels that we recommend for accessibility. And the conference place is on the same level, no difficulties, so it will be very, very easy from one room to the other. Everything already is there, but I can go in more details if you like some other questions.
So thank you very much. In absence of further questions, we then thank our host for this information. Michael Nelson.
What's the status of the host agreement?
Cengiztai, would you like to comment on that? Status of host agreement?
Okay. With the host country agreements, it's been it's far on its way to completion. There's only 2 items that the wordings have to be changed. It's not a disagreement with actual articles, it's just, finding the right wordings, which the UN legal department and the Brazilian legal department are looking at. So I don't think there's any difficulties or anything to worry about on the host country agreement. Thanks.
So thank you very much. Mark Carwell. Mark?
Yes, thank you, Janis, and morning, everybody. And thank you very much, Hartmut, for the presentation and steering us to the excellent website for the IGF in João Pessoa. How am I doing? I think, Hartmut, you were going to say something about visas. Is that right? Thank you.
I will ask that our Minister of Foreign Relations, Mr. Jandir, explain some details. There is some information on the website, but he can go in details.
Thank you, Hartmut. And if you refer to the visa section and at the website, you see that there's information available that shows once your registration is approved and you have obtained your confirmation letter from the IGF Secretariat, you'll be entitled to a visa free of charge within Brazil generous visa rules. So this is pretty clear, and all the information you need is available at the website. Thank you.
Most of the countries don't need visa.
And on top of that, you see that there's a number of countries that do not need visas to go to Brazil. A list of these countries also included at the website. Thank you.
So thank you very much for this clarification. Juan Fernandez.
Yes, because I'm new to MAG. I want to ask, the MAG members has to be in a specific hotel, or it can be spread all out?
So I will ask Cengiztai to answer that question.
No, there's no specific arrangements for MAG members being in one hotel. You choose whichever hotel you want to.
Thank you very much. United States.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Hartmut. Good morning, everyone. Hartmut, I just wondered if there was any more information about the plans for an event hosted on the Day Zero, in addition to some of the other side events that are happening. Thank you.
So I will ask now Brazilian delegation to respond. Hartmut, you or?
Let me start. Until now, we have 3 requests for Day Zero. One is the Next Generation Internet Conference that already is done every year. They like to have a room for 100 people for Day Zero. They already are in touch with the Brazilian organizers. The second request is from Stanford University for a polling that will be done during the conference. They will start on Sunday late for a meeting on Sunday in the evening and all the day on Monday, probably Tuesday in the morning. These are under conversation. Janice and myself, we are requested to be helping them, so we are working with this joint effort to have this polling project in place. And Brazil will use also Day One for Net Mundial initiative. So we are working on an agenda that we will put together the Net Mundial initiative to go in some details and explain how the progress of Net Mundial is working. CGI is one of the partners of Net Mundial initiative, and we like to use this day zero to explain, and we can do it now, but we don't have so much time. We can do it until November. There's a lot of misunderstanding, and we like to clarify and to show that Net Mundial is not the noise is very negative, but Net Mundial is supporting IGF, and we are working together to have a very strong, let's say, relationship. So day zero, until now, we have 3 requests and 3 programs on the agenda.
So thank you very much. I think that meaning of the question was also whether Brazilian side is planning high-level or ministerial level event on day zero as it has been a practice.
The idea is probably to use the time that we normally use for high-level, be used for a more Net Mundial explanation. We will invite high-level participants, but will not be a specific, let's say, high-level meeting. Is not a close position. Ambassador can help me, but the idea is to have probably in the opening session some multi-stakeholder approach, equal footing between all the partners. The decision to have only at high level probably will be not fully supported by the country, because we are very full adopted of the multi-stakeholder equal footing process.
Okay, thank you very much. I see Virat is seeking clarification, please.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Just wanted to know a little bit more about the Stanford polling project. That sounds sort of grounded. Is there any more information on that?
Sounds intriguing, right? We are now clarifying. It may happen that organizers of this deliberate polling process will join us at the end of today, which will be early morning in Stanford, with some additional information about the project.
Thank you.
Marilyn, please.
Thank you, Chair. I have two separate comments. One is a comment about the Stanford polling project. I have taken a look at the information that is available about it, and I guess I'll reserve my judgment until I hear the briefing. I feel a little bit like it is a mob sourcing approach to taking the temperature of a list of participants in a closed environment and then trying to come up with a evaluation of what their views are. In my past, I spent a lot of my previous employer's money on doing polls and hired a lot of pollsters and academics to do this kind of thing. And I welcome the fact we're going to hear the briefing and have an opportunity as the MAG to understand what the purpose is and what the goal is of using this particular approach. My second comment is to the host about the idea that there would be a high-level event which is focused on NMI. I think that is that's somewhat of a surprise to me. The Net Mundial initiative is, of course, a welcome parallel activity. We're going to hear more about it. I think in the past what we've seen is the high-level event that is focused on encouraging senior government people to come on day zero has resulted in ensuring that there's a more senior participation that continues through the rest of the IGF. So I would like to just have us come back and talk about the goal of making sure that there are high-level government officials that are attending throughout the IGF, and if the high-level event is not the way to attract them, what other things might be done by the host and by the chair of the MAG and the MAG to make sure that we are getting that attendance. Thank you.
So thank you very much for those comments. I can, please.
Yes, good morning. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, colleagues. Just to thank Hartmut for that overview of the IGF. It's very encouraging to hear about the venue. I won't pronounce it. I don't want to embarrass Mark, but it certainly sounds an attractive venue. It sounds a very attractive program that's being developed, and certainly in terms of Day Zero, I recall, Mr. Chairman, we discussed this a bit at our last session here in December, but certainly these three events sound very interesting indeed, as long as I think there's adequate notification of them so people can sign up or whatever. It certainly sounds very interesting to hear different perspectives ahead of this very important IGF meeting. Thank you.
So thank you very much. I see no further requests from floor. For remote participants. So if none, then I will maybe ask Ambassador Fonseca to conclude this agenda item. Benedicta, please.
Thank you, Yanis, and good morning to everyone. I'd like to ask Hartmut to complement anything that will be missing from what I'll say. But basically what I wanted to inform is that, as Hartmut has indicated, there is not yet a final proposal for organization of Day Zero. There was a preliminary discussion within the Brazilian Steering Committee, which indicated that should be the main theme for Day Zero, for the event to be organized by the host country. Virgílio Almeida, who you know well, who was the chair of Net Mundial and who is also the coordinator of CGI, is holding consultations both within the government and in coordination with CGI, of course, in order to have a better understanding of the format and the content of the Day Zero event. And what I can assure you is that all the comments that were made in this meeting will be forwarded and will be part of the decision-making in regard to the final shape and format of this event. I think for the moment maybe is what I'd like to say, but I'd like if Hartmut would like, I think it's there. Thank you. Thank you, Jens.
So thank you very much. Hartmut, something else to add? No. So thank you very much, and let us move to the next agenda item. We have a remote participant.
Yes, we have Subi.
Yes, please.
All the comments that were made in this meeting will be forwarded and will be part of the decision-making in regard to the final shape and format of this event. I think for the moment maybe is what I'd like to say.
We have some problems with this.
I think that is there. Thank you. Thank you, Jens.
Actually, Subi just send an email to the mailing list saying that she has a problem, audio problems, and so maybe Secretariat could look at it and make sure that remote participation is possible. Because few of our colleagues run in different type of trouble and couldn't come to the meeting today. So, can we hear now, Subi? No, seems it's not working. Is not working. Okay. So let us move then to the next agenda item, and that is comments of general nature by non-MAG members. Is there anyone who would like to speak, ask, make general comments on state of preparation, on any issue of their particular concern? Please, ma'am.
Thank you. Andrea Sachs, the organizer of the Dynamic Coalition on Accessibility and Disability. We've had an issue, an ongoing issue, and the fact that your remote participation just didn't work right this minute brought this straight to in my head. We've had problems in using the remote participation tool because it's not accessible to persons who use screen readers, and we have problems in callbacks. The only way they can participate remotely is to be called directly. We have the same problem in some of the other UN organizations when we do meetings, so this is not unique. But I would like to know if this has been addressed. If it has not been addressed, are we using the same remote participation tool, which I suspect we are? Are the organizers aware that this has to be, I don't know if there are numbers from Brazil that allow a callback situation, so I need some help with this, because we will have some remote participation from people who are in India who are blind, and people who are in Ireland who are blind, and possibly even a remote participant who would like to present. So if you could help me with that, Chairman, I would be very grateful. Thank you.
So thank you very much for your request. The way how I can help you is to ask Secretariat to help you. So that is what I'm doing now. Secretariat, please take note and do whatever we can to help.
We are aware of the problem.
So thank you very much. European Commission.
Good morning, everyone. This is Cristina Monti, European Commission. I would just like to highlight that this IGF is going to be special. It's the 10th anniversary of the IGF, and we are all very aware that the future of the IGF is going to be addressed and decided at the end of the year. So I just would like to highlight the importance of having an explicit connection and linkage to the WSIS Plus 10 review. And the future of the IGF in particular. In the European Union, with our member states, we are working on this. We are trying to align our positions and to have, concrete messages. We are a little bit worried that we might find ourselves in a situation where IGF could be considered as a bargaining chip, and as we see a lot of value in the IGF, we would like to try to avoid this as much as possible. So I just wanted to raise this point. Thank you.
So thank you very much. I think that all of us were well aware of this situation. And I think we will have an opportunity to discuss in substance to make sure that we really deliver on expectations. European Commission, Council of Europe, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and hello everybody. Lee Hibbard from the Council of Europe. Thank you, Ambassador Karklins, and to the IGF Secretariat. Just a few introductory words to say to you that the Council of Europe, of course, its member states, the 47 member states, and the Secretary General are very supportive of the IGF this year, of course, and also the national and regional dialogues, including the EURIDIC, which will have its meeting in 4 or 5 June in Bulgaria. I think it's very important to know, just following on from the European Commission, is that the Council of Europe member states are going to discuss next week a declaration, a political declaration on WSIS Plus 10 review and IGF extension, which could lead to the adoption of a text in support of this review and, of course, in support of the extension. So I think it's very important for you to take note of that. In addition, just a few words to say that we're very committed in particular to the sub-theme for the Internet and Human Rights sub-theme for the IGF. A lot of new work has been coming through on transboundary Internet traffic, on Internet freedom, on mass surveillance, and we'd very much like to share that work in the IGF with our Brazilian counterparts. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Lee, for this information. I see if whether UNCTAD could tell us a little bit about the outcome of CSDD meeting and decisions which were made. And then I will see if there are any other non-MAG members who would like to speak. I see after that United States, and Mark, I will keep you in the line, and you will give you a floor after non-MAG members. and after that remote participation. UNCTAD. Mervi.
Thank you very much, Chair. My name is Mervi Kultamaa. I'm the WSIS coordinator in the CSTD Secretariat in UNCTAD. Thank you for the opportunity to say a few words on the 10-year review that the CSTD conducted on WSIS in its annual session. That 10-year review included a substantive discussion which took place on the 5th May. So this is very recent development during the Commission's 18th session, and I could report from that discussion that a very large amount of speakers, both CSTD members and non-members, called for the extension of the IGF's mandate. Now, the summary of that discussion will be submitted through the ECOSOC to the General Assembly as an input, and there is also a webcast available of that discussion on the CSTD webpage. In addition to that discussion, the CSTD Secretariat prepared a publication implementing WSIS outcomes, a 10-year review, which is basically a comprehensive assessment of all the main outcomes of both the first and the second phase of the WSIS summit, and resulting from its deliberations during the annual session, the Commission decided to recommend to the ECOSOC that it submits that review publication as an input for General Assembly as it conducts its overall review of WSIS. And I might add that that publication is available in the back of the room by the entrance. So please take a copy if you don't have one, but please limit yourself to only one, because I just brought them myself, and the amount is limited. I could add that we would, from the CSTD Secretariat, we would request to hold an open forum on the CSTD 10-year review during the IGF session. So we would be happy to organize this event and discuss more on the experiences that stakeholders have had on WSIS implementation over the past year, and perhaps we could also try to come up with some recommendations resulting from those deliberations for the overall review. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Mervi, for this brief. I would highly recommend those who are not familiar with the report, which was prepared by UNCTAD Secretariat based on inputs of different stakeholders, to take a look. This is a very comprehensive document, includes also a part on internet governance. Apart from that, there was also another interesting document which was prepared by UNCTAD Secretariat, and that is a mapping of either enhanced cooperation or internet governance landscape. And that is also, in my view, a very useful document to inform discussions we will be having in December in New York. So I will ask now remote participants to take the floor.
We have problems with connecting audio. We will try to fix this in the break, but in the meantime, Subi sent her notes, so I will read them now aloud. Subi Chaturvedi, MAG member. For the host country, thank you for the excellent presentation. Government participation remains a concern and an important one. The host country does a lot of outreach. A high-level event in the middle will allow us to retain senior government participation. While drawing up the schedule, can we bear that in mind? And also share with us plans on how efforts will be to augment to build on the excellent relationship that exists because of Net Mundial. And second, thank you for keeping the high-level event multi-stakeholder. We deeply appreciate that. We also hope it will be kept interactive and not end at speeches which don't really allow for interactivity and participation from the floor. Thank you.
So thank you very much, and thank you for promise of fixing audio. It's really important. United States, please.
Thank you, and since I neglected to follow the instructions, my name is Liesel Franz. I'm with the State Department. Thanks for giving the opportunity to take the floor. I just wanted to mention that I've been following all of the intercessional work that has been going on, and I commend the team and participants that are working on all of those issues. And I also appreciate taking the time during the course of the meetings this week to talk about them in more detail, perhaps have the opportunity to ask some questions and get some more information about some of those with the stages and the phases for each of those projects, including the one on the framework regarding the policy menus for connecting the next billion. So thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to have a conversation about that and a little bit more about that this week. Thank you.
So thank you very much. UNECA, Economic Commission for Africa.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Makan Faye from UNECA, representing also the African Union. I would like to give one, a general comment about the messaging we used to prepare, because we were approached last week by the African group at the UN about the WSIS process and the renewal of the IGF beyond 2015. So I think we need to come up with additional messages, like what we did for UNESCO. If you can have one for the African group, which I would like to coordinate with the outreach committee. Thank you.
So thank you very much. I see Patrick.
Hi, Mr. Chairman. I'm Marcelo Leonardi from Google Brazil. Just a quick introduction. I would like to explain that Google is fully committed to helping the host country, especially given that I'm from there, and anybody that needs any information in particular regarding Brazil and the whole process, so I'll be happy to be in support. And as far as disability, it was a topic that was mentioned quite a few times. Brazil is about to approve its new disability code, and essentially it's a very important part of the conversation, and I know it's coming later on, but I definitely think that it should be one of the, as the process goes on regarding which panels are going to be approved, we definitely should be looking out for that. Thank you.
So thank you very much for this reassuring message. I see no further requests from non-MAG members. Mark is asking for the floor. Please, Mark.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Mark Carval, United Kingdom Government, Department for Culture, Media and Sport. I just wanted to comment in support of Marilyn Cade's earlier intervention about the role that the high-level meeting does play in enhancing governmental participation in the IGF, in particular the opportunity for ministers and very high-level officials to engage directly in the IGF that the high-level meeting provides. For many governments, it'll be a long haul travel logistically to get to Johan Pessoa. I mean, obviously there's the opportunity to speak for ministers to speak in the opening session of the IGF. That in tandem with the high-level meeting, I think, helps more junior officials like me when we are submitting to ministers to make a strong case for traveling and taking part in the high-level meeting. So I hope that factor can be borne in mind. I think the prospect of a successful submission to a minister based solely on the opportunity to speak formally in the opening ceremony is not as great if there is a high-level meeting on day zero as well. You know, the two elements of the programming, if you like, for a minister is very important, certainly in my experience in the UK, when ministerial travel is not always easy to secure, and there's the cost and the time and so on that's involved with a visit to and participation in the IGF. So I hope an early decision. I note what Ambassador Fonseca has said about this being still under consideration, but I would also urge that a decision is made as quickly as possible, so that it will allow officials to secure that opportunity if a high-level meeting is indeed arranged with ministers being invited. Thank you.
So thank you, Mark. I see that Ambassador Fonseca is taking notes. I see no further requests for the floor on this agenda item, and therefore we can move maybe to the next one, and that would be briefings on related to IGF initiatives. And if I may invite European Commission, Christina, to speak about JIPO initiative.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, colleagues, for the opportunity to present you the ongoing work for the creation of the Global Internet Policy Observatory. We have some slides. Yes. Thank you, Carl. So in this presentation, I will briefly go through the main ideas and objectives that are behind this project, and will provide a short update on ongoing initiatives. Next slide, please. So first of all, what is JIPO? JIPO is inspired by the idea of making full use of available technological tools to support Internet policy and governance. These tools can indeed play an important role in making information widely and easily accessible. The purpose of JIPO is to facilitate a more inclusive participation of all stakeholders, in particular those with limited resources. So in short, JIPO will be an online platform to automatically collect, analyze, and visualize real-time information on Internet policy development and decisions across the world. And I would like to highlight the automation aspect is really important in this project. We believe indeed that such a tool can be very helpful in increasing expertise and understanding among all actors, especially those who so far have been marginalized in Internet debates and decisions. Next slide, please. So the basic idea is to use new technologies like data mining, semantic analysis, data visualization tool, and apply them to available data. And we have a lot of data, and in this way we wish to help identify links between different fora and discussions, to identify policy trends, and in short to provide easy-to-use information thanks to modern visualization techniques, and also information which will be customized according to users' needs and interests. Next slide, please. So why do we think this initiative is important and useful? Well, I'm sure you all agree that as the Internet becomes more and more important for our lives, our societies, our economies, the number of policy areas impacted by the Internet constantly increases and touches new areas and fields. Additionally, the way the Internet works is quite complex too, with many players, many organizations and entities, and many different layers. This generates an enormous amount of information. And this complexity can be an objective obstacle for several stakeholders who wish to participate in discussions and in processes where decisions are made that will also affect them. Basically, at the moment, there is a massive amount of information spread over too many places. So not all stakeholders, for instance, in developing countries or from civil society, might have the resources and capacity to follow all these processes and to analyze all this information. Of course, this is a well-known problem and has been recognized in the past by others, and we think that JIPO will help sort of weak stakeholder, weak in the sense of not having enough resources and capacity, and to enable them to find and access and use information which is available to them, but that will allow them to also participate effectively in internet governance discussions. So by building capacity, JIPO will also build confidence, and this we hope will lead to more informed and inclusive discussions, and the general purpose is then to have an approximation also of positions. Next slide, please. So how do we intend to build JIPO? We have identified some core principles that have to be at the base of such a tool. Like, for instance, the idea is to use open source software solutions whenever possible, to have a modular approach so as to allow for different technologies to be plugged in or out to perform specific functions. And also, we will follow a step-by-step approach. At first, we will focus on some core functions, but with the idea to add on other additional functionalities and to allow third parties also to add additional functionalities. Here you have a very, a snapshot of the initial architecture of the tool. The proposed solutions for many components are now being discussed through a series of webinars and conversations we are having with interested parties, and we are very open to suggestions. Of course, this can become easily very, very technical, and therefore, if some of you is interested in some specific aspects of the architecture, I will be happy to put you in touch with the developers. Indeed, we see this as an open and collaborative effort, so we are open to ideas and suggestions by all interested stakeholders. Next slide, please. Also, I just wish to briefly clarify the role of the Commission in this project. The Commission believes this is an important project. That's why last year we asked for a feasibility study to analyze the available technologies and to see how we could move forward. And then at the end of 2014, the Commission allocated specific funding to develop the technical tool. So we have awarded a contract to a group of companies. The three logos of the companies are at the bottom of the presentation. And this consortium is now tasked to develop the technical tool. At the same time, the Commission is seeking the involvement of other partners and stakeholders. This is supposed to be a global resource for the global community, so it's not supposed to be a European Union-only initiative, and that's why we have been reaching out to a number of partners, and we are keen to continue these conversations. Next slide, please. Also, we are very well aware that there are a number of related initiatives with which we have established contacts, and with some of them also we are discussing how we can really, work together, find synergies, and avoid duplication of efforts. And here you can see some of them. Indeed, we now have a website, jiponet.org. Where you will find all the relevant information. Next slide, please. And through this website, you can also get involved in the creation of JIPO. You can share ideas and proposals on what kind of information you wish to get through the observatory. You can also follow regular webinars on the project and discuss directly with the team. Some of you, I think, already participated in the first webinar in April. We will also have physical events. We have an upcoming workshop in Sofia during the Eurodig, the regional IGF, on the 4th of June. But of course, you can also, subscribe to the newsletter and stay in touch through the social media channels to get the latest developments. So, next slide. Just to thank you and to invite to join the JIPO community. Thank you very much for your attention.
So thank you, Christina, for this presentation. And let me move on immediately to the next presentation, and that is on Global Forum for Cyber Expertise, which was proposed by the Cyberspace Conference, which took place in The Hague, Netherlands. Arnold, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Janis. Thank you for taking the opportunity to inform you about this global forum on cyber expertise. As you all know, and you said it already, the fourth cyberspace conference in the so-called London process took place in The Hague on the 16th and 17th of April. Its overall goal was to strengthen the coalition for an open, stable, free and secure internet. It had a broad geographic and multi-stakeholder participation on a strategic level, and the conference was in particular looking for practical solutions. Therefore, its motto was putting principles into practice. The conference had 6 main themes. I named them very briefly: cybersecurity, cybercrime, economic growth and social benefits, freedom and privacy online, international peace and security, and capacity building. And the last one, capacity building, was a cross-cutting theme. With respect to the capacity building, the Cyberspace Conference did put principle into practice, namely by launching this so-called Global Forum on Cyber Expertise, GFCE, on the 16th of April. I will shortly touch upon a few questions related to this GFCE. Why is the GFCE important? What are the goals? What are the key elements? And how is this set up? Why is the GFCE important? First, the need for cyber capacity building, assisting others, including in particular developing countries, and exchanging knowledge, best practices, case studies, etc. Second, the need for overview of efforts globally. And thirdly, the need for fresh impetus to capacity building. What are the goals of the GFCE? First, to create new political momentum for capacity building. To promote new initiatives that provide sharing of knowledge, best practices and expertise, and to provide a dynamic inventory of existing efforts. Thirdly, the goal is to create a platform for high-level policy discussions on capacity building. It also all has been set up in a so-called framework document that was annexed to the so-called The Hague Declaration on the GFCE, and this declaration was signed by 42 countries, private sector and international organizations. Initiatives, well, the key of this GFCE is the process of taking up initiatives. And the initiatives are being taken up by groups of countries based on their own needs and interest in 4 thematic focus areas. And these are cybercrime, cybersecurity, data protection, and e-governance. I think it is a synonym for internet governance, but only for cyber diplomats. This whole process of taking up initiative has been explained in the framework document. It consists of 4 phases: setting up one, identifying, recruitment, and implementation. An initiative is taken up by 2 or more members of GFC, one sharing knowledge and the other asking for assistance. So it's in order to match the supply and demand. There will be a database coming up. At this moment, the university is setting up such a database, and it will be a specific GFC zone at the Cybersecurity Capacity Building portal, and it will be fully dedicated to capacity building initiatives on a global scale. You can find their information on best practices, case studies, and articles, and so more. There will also be, as I said, a moment for high-level policy discussions. The next the GCCS meeting, the Global Conference on Cyberspace meeting, will be held in Mexico in 2017, and in the margin there will be some space to discuss further the evaluation and taking stock of all the initiatives taking up within the context of GFCE. Discussed can be, well, best practices, emerging challenges, and promoting innovation. As I said, there is a limited group of participants who signed the Hague Declaration on the GFCE. I name a few of them: the African Union, Senegal, Bangladesh, some European countries, and the United States. From the private sector, I can recall that Microsoft signed, Symantec Corporation, Hawaii, and many more to come. So I said that countries, international organizations, and the private sector are at this stage members of the GFC, but we especially would like to see a very close involvement of other stakeholders from the civil society, the technical community, academic community, and foreseen is that they can participate in the whole process of taking up initiatives, because they have also a lot of knowledge and expertise, and there will be a moment where they can join. In concluding, Chair, the GFC is still in its early stage. A secretariat will be soon established. It will be a very light organization. And more information can be found on the Hague Declaration, as well as the framework document, on the website of the Global Conference on Cyberspace, which took place this year. As I told you also, there will be a separate website. We are building on it right now, but as soon as this will be available, we will let this know publicly. And last but not least, we hope to share more information during the upcoming Internet Governance Forum in Brazil. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Arnold, for this information, and I will move to the next initiative, Net Mundial initiative, and I understand that Bill Drake will speak about it. Bill, please.
Thank you, Janis. Good morning, everybody. I'm Bill Drake. I teach at the University of Zurich, and I'm a recently departed MAG member as well. I'm here also with Marilia Maciel from the Center for Technology and Society of the Getulio Vargas Foundation in Rio. We're both here as members of the inaugural Coordination Council of the Net Mundial Initiative. And we just wanted to give you a quick update on what our activities are all about. I will say a few words just briefly about the NMI itself and its relationship to the IGF, and then Marilia will tell you a bit about our recent activities, and we will do that rather quickly. First of all, the Net Mundial Initiative, it should be understood, is exactly what the name suggests. It's an initiative. It is not a new permanent organization, and it is most certainly not a new policy-making organization. What it is an effort led by a multi-stakeholder group of volunteers to create a new multi-stakeholder space in which like-minded actors can share information and seek support for some new activities that are not currently being undertaken elsewhere. These include tracking and reporting on progress in the implementation of the Net Mondial principles and carrying forward some of the new ideas that were mentioned in the roadmap section of the Net Mondial multi-stakeholder statement that was adopted in Sao Paulo last year. Among those activities are such things as, first, serving as one of the sites performing a clearinghouse sort of function, and I think what GIPO is doing is related to this as well, of aggregating and disseminating information on issues, solutions, sources of expertise, and resources in Internet governance. Secondly, providing a neutral platform on which diverse actors can promote projects that are consistent with the Net Mondial statement, solicit partners, and establish collaborative relationships. Thirdly, promote the application, evaluation, and implementation of the principles and encourage community reporting about them. Fourth, facilitate participation in the Internet governance ecosystem, particularly in the developing world, and advance multi-stakeholder processes at the national and regional levels. This is not to say IGFs, national regional IGFs already exist, but rather actual policy-making processes such as we see in Brazil and other countries. And assisting developing country communities, governments, and underserved stakeholders by enabling capacity building developments in networking with partners around the world. So there's some synergies there with all the various types of initiatives that have been discussed so far. Our terms of reference state explicitly that the initiative will seek to complement and support the work of the existing Internet governance dialogue and normative processes and institutions, particularly the Internet Governance Forum. Many of us who are involved in Net Mondial Initiative are also involved in the IGF, and in some cases have been from before the beginning. And we remain deeply committed to strengthening the IGF and seeing it succeed, and we see the Net Mondial Initiative as a vehicle to contribute to this. Indeed, one could easily imagine the Net Mondial Initiative's activities being performed in close cooperation with or even as part of the IGF intersessional work, should that become more deeply institutionalized and supported going forward. So we are hoping to develop an ever closer working relationship with the IGF, and to that end, we will be organizing an event in Brazil at the IGF, and we'll see from there where we go together in trying to enrich the global ecosystem. In the same spirit, I'd like to simply point out that we will like to invite everybody here to a reception after the open consultation at 18:30 in the restaurant downstairs. Chengetai will share the details later, but this is an effort by the Net Mondial Initiative to reinforce to everybody in the IGF community, lest there be any misunderstanding, that we very much are part of the IGF community, want to contribute to the IGF community, and want to see all of these initiatives go forward hand in hand happily into the future. And with that, I turn over to Marilia Maciel to say a few more things about our operational activities.
Thank you very much, Bill, and good morning to all. My name is Marilia. It's M-A-R-I-L-I-A for the record. Thank you. I'd like to share some information about the status of the work carried out by Net Mondial Initiative. I think this is useful to understand how the initiative is being conducted. First of all, a multi-stakeholder coordination council has started to work early this year. The council has been the guiding leadership behind Net Mondial Initiative, so all internal governance decisions have been made collectively by this council. The first task in front of us was the development of the terms of reference of the initiative. All members of the council were invited to join a subgroup dedicated to this task. The subgroup decided then to conduct a public open-ended consultation to collect views from the community and better understand the expectations regarding the initiative. Most of the comments received were very thoughtful and useful to us in carrying out our work. The Secretariat developed a summary of contributions, and both the full text of the contributions and the summary are available online for review. Based on this input received, we developed the first draft of the terms of reference, which is also on the website. This version was refined through 10 online weekly meetings conducted with council members, and the text was endorsed by the full council in late March when the council had its first face-to-face working meeting in Stamford. The document was put under public consultation again for 1 month, and last week the TOR subgroup met to assess and incorporate the suggestions that were made by the community. So the finalized version of the TOR will be reviewed by the full council and endorsed in the inaugural meeting of the council that will take place in São Paulo, and I will give some information about that shortly. In Stamford, in our own physical meeting, we also decided to create 3 working groups that are led and facilitated by council members. One of them is devoted to governance and operational procedures of the Net Mundial initiative, so how the initiative will work, the role of the council, the role of the secretariat. Another one is devoted to standards for projects, so what is expected from projects that are proposed through the platform, what are the modalities of support that council members can give to the project, and the third one is devoted to outreach and strategy. These 3 working groups are producing output documents that are currently being reviewed by the full coordinating council and will be online soon for review of the community. I think that this brief summary helps to stress 3 key points. One of them is that it is very important to us that the ownership of this initiative belongs to the full multi-stakeholder community. This is a key principle. Another one is transparency, so a detailed summary of all the meetings that I have just mentioned have been published online and they are available for review. And the third one is participation. We are making sure that every step that we take, we turn to the community and we ask the community to give their input. So what is coming up next? As Bill mentioned, there will be a reception today, but not only that, there will be an inaugural meeting of the Net Mundial Coordinating Council that will be kindly hosted by CGIBR in São Paulo in June 30. So it will be just after the ICANN meeting in Buenos Aires. Remote participation will be available to all that wish to attend remotely, and the meeting will be open to on-site observers as well as space permits. We have 20 seats available. They will be filled in a first-come, first-served basis, and the CGI will be responsible to process the expressions of interest, those who wish to attend. A call for expression of interest will be published in the website, I think, by tomorrow. So Net Mundial initiative will also hold some activities during the IGF. There will be an open forum and also an activity on day 0, as Bill mentioned, and we would like to welcome you today at the reception later on. Thank you.
So thank you very much for this information and 3 presentations. Any immediate questions to any of 3 presenters? Marilyn Cade, please.
Thank you, Chair. Marilyn Cade speaking. My question is, I think, to all 3, if they find it applicable. During the past several months, I've been privileged to be one of the business participants on the CSTD Working Group on Enhanced Cooperation, which undertook the mapping exercise. And very recently was also attending a meeting of another UN organization in which there was a discussion about a best practice repository, and the idea that any individual could post a project or a description of an activity to a repository, and that would be called a best practice. So my question, this gives me great pause, since the IGF is working on best practices, we're putting rigor into it. I come from the business sector where in order to qualify as a best practice, there needs to be some kind of evaluation of what the sort of the standards are. I'd like to hear from those who, the speakers, about what the evaluation or peer review process is in order to have something on their website which implies to users that there's some kind of standard or quality checking behind it. And it's just a quick question. I'm interested in hearing from all 3.
So thank you very much. I will collect questions if there will be further ones before giving the opportunity to answer. I can.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Nigel Hickson. I can, like Marion, like to thank the three presenters. Found the information to be exceedingly useful, indeed the JIPO platform. We've heard quite a bit about it in its creation, and certainly be very interesting to see its development. On the developments that took place in The Hague at the excellent cyberspace conference last month, very interested indeed also to see the developments there. And of course in relation both to the wider discussions on internet governance, but also in relation to what was said about the Net Mondiale initiative. Mr. Chairman, I just wonder, in terms of, I suppose, a question, is that there are a number of initiatives in this area, as Marilyn has referred to. We were privileged to be able to see the mapping exercise that took place. Some of the authors of that are in this room for the CSTD, which was one of the background papers that we looked at the 18th plenary meeting the week before last, and that was a significant piece of work. Of course, there's the Geneva Internet Platform, which is doing good work here in Geneva, and again, mapping various issues and initiatives. And I just do wonder, given the all-encompassing and broad remit of the Internet Governance Forum, whether it is possible that some of these initiatives, or all of these different initiatives, can have a session, or can in some way inform the wider global community when we reach Brazil of their work and the synergies between their work. Because I'm not suggesting that they're in competition or anything like that, but I think from any stakeholders, they want to understand how they can best sort of take advantage of these various initiatives. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Nigel, for your proposal. I think since this meeting is open, transcribed, and will be all transcripts will be publicly available, this is already a very good way how to promote these initiatives and spread information about them. Remote participant?
Yes, I will try to while Subi again.
Please, Subi, go ahead.
No.
It doesn't work. Murad, please, Algeria.
Thank you, Chair, and my apologies for being late. First of all, I would like to thank the presenters for their presentations. I have two questions. One, I guess, is for the Net Mondiale initiative promoters. To what extent developing countries are involved in the Net Mondiale process? Secondly, how the promoters of the JIPO and GFC can see in practice a more effective participation of developing countries, particularly governments. Thank you.
So thank you. I see no further. No, there is one. Please, Shita.
Thank you, Chairman. Hello, my name is Sita Laksmi from Indonesia. I would like to ask, at the level of activities for the Global Forum on Cyber Expertise, are the activities can only be implemented by those countries or organizations that signing? How can other country which is not signing but interested to be part of the activity can take part? Thank you.
So thank you, Sita, for this question. I see no further requests and time is running. Yes, please.
Hello, my name is Ephraim Kenyanito.
Yes, Ephraim, please go ahead.
Yes, and my question is also regarding the GFCE. I just wanted clarification regarding the stakeholders on board, the type of stakeholders, and if it's open to everyone or it's only government and private sector only. Thank you. And then also, to just mention something that we had talked about earlier about day zero. There was a request for next generation young people having a place there, so just wanted to insist on that because someone reminded me about that. Thank you. This is from the Youth Coalition on Internet Governance. Thank you.
So thank you. Now remote participation.
Let's try Subi again.
Please, Subi, go ahead with your question.
The type of stakeholders and if it's open to everyone or it's only government and private sector only. Thank you. And then also to just mention something that you had talked about earlier about day zero. There was a request for next generation young people having a place there. So just
look, I think you better fix the technical problem, and we will try with remote participation online in real time in the afternoon session. I would like really to close this Q&A and to move to the decision related to our liaisonship to NMI, but Virat is asking a floor. Virat, please.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to very briefly mention some discussions as I could about events on day zero. I think I wanted to make 2 points other than understanding the details of the Stanford poll, which you said we will towards the end of the day. This is a very sensitive year in terms of renewal, so whatever events we plan for day zero should not be a surprise to the MAG till the last minute. We should know all the details in advance so we can participate and distribute the information. We don't want any of that stuff happening because it's considered outside the IGF and therefore it's last minute information. Second, we should try and use day zero to advance our relationships and objectives with governments, especially the governments that are not wholeheartedly supporting the renewal of IGF. We don't want to hold events on that day that then gets into conflict with those who have to go vote on the renewal of IGF. So we should not use day zero in any way to make it an opportunity where others can find ways to then pick on IGF saying, look, this is the problem, and this is not something that we want to get done. So I just want to be careful about those two comments and an overall umbrella that we should keep in mind as we look at and approve or talk through day zero events. Thank you.
So thank you. We will get to this day zero discussion now. I would like to.
I will read the Subi's intervention.
Please.
Subi said, thanks for all the presentations. Questions for the cyberspace conference update. Glad that other stakeholders are also invited to contribute. Cyberspace is not and should not remain the business of governments and intergovernmental organizations alone. How can other stakeholders from academia and civil society contribute? Is there a website and a contact person's email?
Okay, thank you. Now we have questions to three presenters. I will start with the European Commission. Christina.
I'll try to be brief and to cover the questions which seem to be more relevant for JIPO. So first one concerning the evaluation of standards. As I mentioned, JIPO now is focusing on developing the technical tool. For that, we went through a very strict selection process to identify the companies who would work on this through an open selection procedure, so according to the European Commission standards. And before that, we also had a feasibility study where we tried to map and to see what were the best technologies available on the market. But of course, again, also I mentioned that we are looking at open source solutions as well. At the same time, we are now, we have an initial proposal, but we are working in a very transparent way. So we are open to collaboration. We are open to input from technical sector, from business community. So to make sure that we have the best possible tool and using the best possible technology.
again, then the final say it will come from the users who will it will depend on how the users see the JIPO as something that will be of help to them. Concerning the synergies with other ongoing initiatives, I think there is a lot of things that we can do together because there are the initiatives are different in scope, in objectives, in way of working, and I think that JIPO, by focusing on automation, by focusing on the technical aspect, and by trying to collect automatically available information and to also analyze it in an automatic way, can be a tool also to bring together some of these initiatives and to exchange content. Then again, the content or the analysis that can be done through a tool like JIPO can feed into the other initiatives as well. And then third, the question was concerning developing countries and how can they participate, especially governments. I think here, they are our ideal users. So I think they could contribute very well by highlighting their problems, highlighting their needs and their difficulties. This could be very helpful also in outlining user case scenarios. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Christina, Arnold, if you could answer a question related to GFC.
Yes, thank you. Arnold van Rijn, Dutch government, Ministry of Economic Affairs. It has been said already by the representative of the European Commission on all the initiatives taking up right now. We have to find some synergy, and I think we have to work on that. Perhaps the next IGF meeting in Brazil could be a place where the initiators could get together to find the best way to work on that. With respect to the GFCE, I've already said that it touches mainly on cybersecurity, cybercrime, and data protection. So I think that is more somewhat different from the other initiatives. There was a question on how to participate developing countries more by this initiative. I said already that the African Union is one of the founding fathers, so to speak, of this forum. And through the African Union, we hope to reach more African countries to participate. Furthermore, when the website will be available, there will be lots of publicity to reach out to other developing countries to come on board. So we're working very hard on that too at this stage. To name an example, we are already in contact with Bangladesh to find some common ground to work further on the initiatives, which could be valuable for both of us. There was also a question concerning the membership. The membership is at this stage open to governments, the private sector, and international organizations. In my intervention, I also stressed that we are very much would like to see more involvement of other stakeholders. There will be a possibility of other stakeholders to work together on all the initiatives. That's in the process of all the initiatives which are being taken up. As soon as an initiative is being taken up, they can have a say too. They can join, but they have to get permission of one of the initiators to join. We are still discussing how to make this more open to all the other stakeholders, to get a really truly multi-stakeholder approach. But in fact, there are ways to involve the civil society, the technical community, and others to work on the building of the initiatives, because they have, as I said, lots of expertise expertise, experience too, and it would be a waste if we would ignore these valuable expertise and knowledge. So at this stage, as I said already, it is all in the very, very preliminary first phase, setting up this GFC, and more information will come in the near future. Thank you.
So thank you very much. NMI.
Thank you very much. This is Marilia Manciel. I would like to take Marilyn's question on review and standards and peer evaluation. Regarding the documents that are produced by the Net Mundial initiative, we're making sure that they are published and made available on the website, and we're collecting input from the community, as I mentioned, and this input is being carefully reviewed and assessed not only by the Secretariat but by all council members as well, so we are making sure that the community is being heard. When it comes to the projects that are being supported or will be supported by the Net Mundial initiative, this is a very important question to ask. As I mentioned, the document with the criteria for assessing the projects is being discussed right now. All I can tell you is that this is a concern from the working group, and there are ideas being discussed, such as the possibility to make a crowdsource evaluation of projects and calling in experts to conduct an evaluation to make sure that the projects that are being supported by the initiative are really attentive to the needs of the community. So there will be opportunity for the community to go into the platform and assess and give their views on the projects. Thank you.
Bill Drake, I'll just answer the other points that were directed at NMI. Nigel's comment about some effort to promote greater synergy and perhaps using the IGF to hold a session on these things. You know, we've had many types of activities that have spun out of the IGF over the years that I think haven't always gotten full recognition. For example, some of us were involved in launching the Global Internet Governance Academic Network, which meets every year before the IGF for a full day on day zero, which has been really important for catalyzing work in developing countries and transitional countries by people doing internet governance. We've launched all of these schools of internet governance in Europe, Africa, Latin America, Caribbean, and so on. All these kinds of initiatives, as well as the ones we've talked about today, all contribute to enriching the ecosystem, and I think it'd be high time to find some way to feature all this kind of activity in a positive way, because there's lots of room for many initiatives, and there's lots of room for more coordination and cross-fertilization among all of them. The last point I would make in response to the colleague from Algeria, the question of developing country engagement was central to the whole thinking and launching the Net Mundial initiative. That's what this was all about from the beginning, was trying to figure out how to reduce the friction and the difficulty faced by developing country actors in engaging in global internet governance processes. And so we have been giving a lot of thought to exactly what kinds of projects, what types of information sharing activities, and so on, would be supportive in promoting multi-stakeholder activities at the national, regional, global level. And that's very much on our agenda. And the governance of and planning of the Net Mundial initiative itself is done by a coordination council that involves representatives from each of the world regions. So we have people on the council from Africa, from Latin America and the Caribbean, from Asia, Middle East, participating in the decision-making on the design of this thing. So we are fully on board with and committed to trying to make the NMI very much geared towards the interests of developing countries and other non-dominant stakeholders as well. So that's that. Thank you.
So thank you very much. I think we have heard a lot of new and interesting information, and that is very useful for us to know in proceeding to the next agenda item, and that is to make a decision on liaisonship with NMI Net Mundial initiative. I would like now temporarily suspend open consultations and formally open the MAG meeting and invite participate in the next agenda item MAG members exclusively. So let me put the question, or initiate the question. If you recall, we had talked about relationship between IGF MAG and NMI already during our December meeting. At that time, we could not reach a consensual decision, and we addressed the issue on a few conference calls. In between, in the meantime, the invitation of NMI to the MAG was slightly modified, and from member of the Coordination Council, now the MAG is invited to identify and select, appoint a liaison to NMI initiative. And we had a discussion, an interim decision in one of the conference calls where we agreed to appoint interim liaison to NMI, and that would be, depending on availability, either the chair or a secretariat of the MAG who would be performing this function depending on the need and availability. At that meeting as well, it was decided that the final decision will be taken during the face-to-face meeting. And that is why this question is on the agenda. And I would like to seek opinions, and I recognize Virat was seeking for the floor on this topic, or that was on the another one.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to get the status of where we are, so you've just given that.
Okay, thank you. Whether we accept the invitation and would nominate Lee or any other option that will be supported by consensus by all MAG. So I recognize 3 members seeking the floor. I'll start with Avery, Marilyn, Juan, in that order, and then the others. Avery, please.
Thank you. Avery Doria speaking. When we first talked about it, the NMI was still sort of an unknown, and there was a lot of fear. There was a lot of sense of threat. I think the intervening period has shown that it isn't at all a threat and is indeed compatible and complementary with the stuff we do and with what the IGF wants to do. So I'm very much in favor of establishing the liaison relationship. I think it's reasonable that it be the chair. I don't think it necessarily needs to be the chair and could be anyone else, but I do think it's reasonable. And I was in favor of it then, but sort of softly. Now it's not quite as soft. It just seems something we really should be doing. Thanks.
Thank you. Marilyn?
My name is Marilyn Cade. I listened carefully to all of the previous discussions, which were quite extensive, and have been following the work of the NMI online. At the time that this discussion came up, I proposed at that time that listening to the very diverse views, that a compromise could be the appointment of a liaison of both the chair and the secretariat. I do not consider it at all appropriate that anyone else other than the chair and the secretariat take that role. For instance, I don't think that a random MAG member should fulfill that role, as we have other purposes. I continue to support the idea that the secretariat and the chair can fill a liaison position, but I want to be very careful to make it clear that I do not consider it appropriate in any way for the MAG chair or the secretariat to become a full member of the coordinating committee of this group or any other group outside of the MAG, as that would begin to imply that we, the MAG, have some sort of official status that we confer on other groups, which I'm extremely cautious about. I'm very familiar with what the purpose of the individual appointments by the Secretary General are and are not. But a liaison position for informational purposes, I consider appropriate. I have heard some comments made by proponents of NMI which seem to imply that there could be a closer relationship with the IGF. The IGF itself is not an entity, and I think we want to see interaction and support from activities like the NMI, GIPO, others, in helping to support the IGF, but I want to be careful that we not begin to think we're building some sort of special structure. Thank you.
So thank you very much. Juan Fernandez.
Thank you, Chairman. In the past face-to-face meeting when we discussed this, I mentioned, and I'm speaking here as as an expert, not representing a country or anybody else, that I don't see any trouble in collaborating with any initiative, but that this initiative in those days, in order to participate in or to try to get into the council or whatever, you had to sign agreement in a statement, and not only you, that your organization endorse that. I mentioned that was a bit bizarre in terms of collaborating with a supposedly open organization. So I wonder if that is still the case, because if still the case, then I have some reservations for doing it. And the other thing is more formal. It's in the line that Marilyn just expressed. I think that the MAG, we are not an organization, we're an advisory group for the Secretary General of the United Nations to aid him in organizing the Internet Governance Forum. That was an initiative that was agreed in a summit, in a UN summit. So I think that we are not the one who have a formal relationship with any other entities. That decision has to come from the Secretary General itself, or for whom he decides to take that decision. So I agree with Marilyn that the only thing that we could have is some informal liaison for informational matters only, but any formal relationship of the MAG with whatever, not the MAG, because the MAG is an advisory group. It has to come from the Secretary General, that is the convener of the IGF, that, as Marilyn said, is not an organization. It's a policy dialogue forum, international forum. So with those are the two concerns. One is a more substantive and the other is a formal one.
So thank you very much. Already previously we discussed and learned that no strings attached, every conditionality has been removed. And indeed there is no question any longer about formal relationship. There is only proposal to establish liaisonship for informational purposes, as liaison is supposed to be. Constance, please.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. I'm Constance Baumler from the Internet Society. I'm also advisor to the chair of the MAG on intersessional activities to help develop best practices. And the theme of connecting the next billion, we had noted, I think in December, that there were still some pending questions around the coordination council, the nature of NMI itself, the initiative, I think some of those questions probably still remain to be addressed in a clear way. At the same time, this idea of perhaps an informal liaison certainly seems more appropriate than formal membership of the Coordination Council of the Net Mundial Initiative. We heard in Bill Drake's very good presentation about NMI that there was perhaps a desire to support intersessional activities, support the work of the IGF. So I guess my request would be to have more information about how concretely the NMI, if we have an informal liaison to this initiative, could support intersessional activities. I see personally several possibilities. If there's a pre-IGF event organized by the Net Mundial Initiative, I would encourage organizers of that event to pick up the themes of the intersessional activities, connecting the next billion, developing policy menus for connecting the next billion, and the 6 themes that were identified for best practice forums. There's a lot of heavy lifting to do. There are a lot of members from the MAG who have volunteered, but we need more energy. We need more support from initiatives outside of the IGF. So if we do have an informal link with the NMI, that would be my proposal, to have a clear link with the work of the intersessional activities of the IGF. Thank you.
So thank you very much. Murad?
Thank you. I'll be very short. I think we have to be positive towards the NMI invitation. Thus, I support the interim license solution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Virat?
Mr. Chairman, let me just get a clarification. So we are basically discussing the approval or the continuation of the decision that was made on a virtual call of a temporary liaison status, in which either Chagatai or you would represent, not one of us random members.
Yes, we're discussing whether we can remove interim from the decision we made during the virtual conference call. Mark?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I want to support removal of the word interim. I think it's important for these 2 multi-stakeholder spaces, which, as we've heard from Bill Drake and others, have clear synergies, overlaps. There will be NMI sessions in Joan Pessoa. I'll check with Harvard later on how I'm doing. NMI is presented here, reception here. There's obvious value in ensuring that we have a channel of communication so that we ensure that we understand how NMI is progressing, is launching, the kind of projects it's issuing, as we, as the MAG, develop the program for the IGF and so on. So it just makes obvious sense to me that we have an informal liaison relationship to secure that vital channel of communication. Thank you.
So thank you. Baher?
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, everyone. This is Baher Asmat. I'm with ICANN, and I'm also a MAG member. I'd like to join others in, again, trying to have a more sort of formal relationship between IGF and NMI. So, of course, I support the removal of the interim sort of relationship. I think we've heard from Bill, Marilia, and others about synergies and linkages among the many initiatives, some of which have spun out of the IGF. Some were sort of
naturally born within regions and territories. I think the important thing here is to realize the importance of NMI in building on work that has started at the IGF and other fora. Some have alluded to the work of the mapping exercise that was part of a CSTD working group on enhanced cooperation, and today NMI is trying to build on that and trying to provide a sort of solutions map, building exactly on the same kind of work that started here at the IGF. So I don't see a reason why we as a group should refrain from, trying to explore the sort of formal relationship between the two groups. I mean, it was made clear during different and several occasions that there is no competition between the two activities. NMI stated it clearly that it supports the IGF and its mandate, its activities, its work, and so forth. I'd like to see this process move forward, and I think this discussion is also very important and very timely. It's important here not only for the IGF, it's for the global multi-stakeholder ecosystem, and showing the global community that there are synergies among the different forums is key. Showing the global community that the multi-stakeholder model is strengthening. It's not, it's developing, it's evolving, and it will continue to evolve. I think this is an important message that the IGF should send. Also, there's something that came to my mind about having the IGF as a formal representative in some group. I think we have a similar case. Maybe it's not exactly the same case, but I thought that the IGF Secretariat is a member of the IGF Association. And I think that makes a lot of sense, because the IGF Association was also formed to support the IGF. I think NMI, maybe with a different mandate or different function, was also created to support many of the multi-stakeholder efforts, including the IGF. Thank you.
So thank you. We have a number of requests for the floor now. Please mind time. We have this is not the only item on our agenda, and I'm very tempted to ask if there are anybody who is not in favor of removing. That maybe would be helpful, but still remote participant. I think that Subi, you will read hers.
We have two, actually.
Okay.
The first one is Ginger.
Please.
Ginger said, I support the liaison position, but regarding Constance's input, the NMI should join IGF activities. The IGF should not join NMI and other activities. And Subi said, I support the chair as the liaison on NMI, but additionally I raise a concern as we may need to lower diplomatic standards here and speak with clarity. In the year of renewal of the IGF in the context of Day Zero events, can the group please highlight the initiatives being taken to amplify the value of IGF and how NMI working to strengthen it? We are concerned as we see a conflict of interest, or at least a division of efforts, as the hosts are also deeply invested in both processes. It was mentioned earlier during the NMI presentation that it will aim to emerge as a clearinghouse function and attempt to do what's not being done in other IG spaces. I'd rather err on the side of caution when it comes to protecting and advancing IGF interest as a MAG member, especially at the IGF. While all of us recognize the importance and potential room for improvement, I do wish that the time on Day Zero be used judiciously and after due deliberation. Some clarity would be helpful.
So thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to echo the comments made by our colleagues Mark Carvel and Baher Asmat and express my support for a non-interim liaison position between the IGF and the NMI. Thanks.
Thank you. Michael? Michael Nelson?
Thank you. It's always useful to know if there are precedents or what other groups are providing this kind of liaison to the NMI. Maybe I missed it, but maybe Bill or someone else can talk about how many liaisons there are to the NMI and what level those people are at, because I'm very concerned that Giannis that you can't be everywhere, and that presumably if you were the liaison, you might often send somebody else.
So the invitation is extended to two organizations. One is ISOC or ISOC Technical Community, and one is MAG IGF. This is, I recall, from was sent also to us.
Do you know if other groups have asked to be given a liaison role?
No, I don't. But I think this is not something that should prevent us from making our own decision. Mexico, please.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, colleagues. We would like to raise the point that Marilyn and Juan Fernandez made, that we support establishing a liaison, informal liaison for information purposes, but we have to bear in mind the mandate of the MAG that we were entrusted by the Secretary General, and we will also have to bear in mind that we can set precedent for other initiatives like the GFC that was introduced this morning, and that was the point I wanted to share with you. Thank you, Chair.
So thank you very much. Leah, last speaker.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Lara Kasper. I'm with Global Partners Digital, and I would just like to keep my intervention very short and to support the establishment of the liaison position, as I think that would increase the likelihood that the IGF interests of the IGF community and our initiatives would be strengthened rather than undermined. Thank you.
So thank you very much. And before taking a decision, Avri will say a word.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The one thing I wanted to add, which came out after the discussion, was the notion that it could only be the chair or the secretariat, and of course, other MAG members couldn't participate in such roles. And I just wanted to put in a comment against establishing such a precedent. We see already that we are collecting an ever larger bevy of special advisors to the chair to do A, B, C, or D. So, and in the past, we've also talked about perhaps sharing some of the chairing activities of the MAG across other stakeholder groups. So I just wanted to put a stake in the ground that sort of said, you know, I think it's very good that you're doing it. I also think, though, that if the IGF and if the MAG starts having more and more liaison activities, we don't want to box ourselves into a place that it is only the chair that can fulfill that function. Thank you.
So thank you very much. So let me try to make a proposal. Since I did not hear any intervention opposing removal of interim from the decision we made during the conference call, may I take that this is the wish of the MAG to establish a liaison with NMI? I see no objection. This is so decided. Thank you. We now resume the open consultations, and the next agenda for consideration and discussion is main sessions during the IGF. And would you like to introduce, or you want me to do it? Okay. Chengetai will put us, give us a frame for this discussion, and this frame is limited only with the number of days meeting is taking place. It is just setting the scene for discussion. Chengetai, please.
Thank you, Giannis. We just have to discuss the
the main sessions and the formats of the main sessions. At the moment, in the schedule that I sent out to everybody just now and also last week, we have the schedules that a template for the schedule. Last year and the previous years, this is what we've had for the main sessions, starting off with day one, the orientation session, setting the scene, and then there's nothing going on with the opening ceremony, when the opening ceremony and opening session is going on, and also with the closing session. That was last year. We've noted that in some instances the main sessions have been poorly attended, basically from my point of view and also from Yanis's point of view, like the taking stock session and the open mic session as well, was not that well attended. So we may have to rethink maybe the formats of the main sessions, and main sessions have never been in parallel, but with some discussions with the hosts, I think there was a suggestion that we may have 2 main sessions in parallel. So, but we have to think about that, because if we do have 2 main sessions in parallel, we'll also take away from the workshops. So that's one thing we have to think about. Another thing we have to fill it in, will all the themes have a main session? Traditionally, we've tried to have all the themes having a main session, but the main sessions on the day one, of course, we can't have the workshops of that theme before the main session. So what we've usually had is tried to have all the workshops based on that theme before the main session, and the main session would be some sort of consolidating and summarizing what has happened in that main theme. Should we continue this process this year as well? And last year we also introduced the main session for the best practices. And if I'm not mistaken, there was also one other suggestion for a main session. I think Marcus, you had suggested, can you just quickly remind me?
Yes, thank you. Marcus Kummer speaking. Yes, on one of the calls I also suggested, like we have a main session for best practice forums where they can report back their findings, that we include a main session for dynamic coalitions where the broader community can discuss their findings.
Yes, thank you. Yes, a main session for dynamic coalitions, and not a main session, but we can count it as a 3-hour session. We also had the interregional dialogue session, so that's one thing that we have to keep in consideration as well when we're discussing this main session idea. Well, I think that's all, and apologies for talking quickly. I tend to do that sometimes. Thanks.
So thank you very much, Chengetai. So in other words, we have a daunting task to identify and select the sub-themes or themes for this main sessions, taking into account that number of slots is limited. So if we look to the agenda schedule, taking or assuming that we won't maintain orientation session and setting the scene session, which is kind of traditional events throughout previous IGFs, and opening session on the first day, we have either 2 3-hour slots or 4 90-minute slots on the second day. We have 3 90-minute slots on the third day if we consider best practice session already approved, as we discussed, and then we have either 2 90 minutes or 3 90-minute session fourth day, provided that we agree to cluster open mic and closing session in one 90 minutes at the very end of fourth day. So that, assuming that we are talking about 90-minute main sessions, we have remaining 4 plus 3 plus 3, which means 10. Out of those 10, the call has been to use one for interregional dialogue, one for dynamic coalitions, and certainly if we're heading towards document on policy menus for next billion, that is kind of natural that one of the main sessions is devoted also to that theme as well, which leaves us with 7 potential main sessions. Floor is open. Marilyn was first, and then Cheryl.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Marilyn Cade. I want to discuss the practicality of using a main session for the dynamic coalitions. The dynamic, before, and I say that, I'm open to the idea, but I want to better understand it. We've talked before about whether the national and regional initiatives actually rise to the level of a main session or deserve their own dedicated time slot where they can interact with each other, which is different from interacting with the town hall approach. The dynamic coalitions are very different and distinct from each other, and I'd like to better understand what the purpose of making this a main session, where the only way that I could see this working would be a series of update informational presentations and then responses from the audience. And given the diversity of the dynamic coalitions, I think the audience interested in some of the topics would be very different than the audience interested in other topics. So I just want to park that and see if we could better understand it. Then I want to go on and say my observation is that I'm not sure the open mic on the closing day really works. In the early days of ICANN, we used to do a town hall on day 1, which was really an open mic. And at that town hall, it was called the General Assembly, any topic was fair game, and it was brief, but it was an opportunity to really kind of air a question, a concern. And I wonder, perhaps the MAG could talk more about whether an open mic might work better on a different day, before the closing, when many people have left or are thinking about the need to leave, and I think that may contribute to the inability to really devote a lot of attention to an open mic. Thank you.
So thank you very much for these ideas. Everything is open for discussion. Nothing is preconceived for the moment except those traditional sessions which have been identified already. Cheryl, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to raise an idea for a main session. I had actually raised it on one of the lists, but I'd be happy to repost it on the MAG list. I think this is a really important year, as you've mentioned, and many of the other MAG members have mentioned, for the IGF. And I think we're at a point in time where a lot has happened with respect to different improvements, from the best practice forums to the intersessional work, to a lot of the other improvements with respect to how we're dealing with workshops. I was pleased to see that we had a higher number of newcomers who were approved, as well as developing countries, and I think that that's something that we should definitely be watching and understanding what we're doing right and things that we can still be doing a better job at. And so my thinking is that this main session, it would just draw upon the IGF's growth over the past 10 years and also look forward. I had originally posted it as taking stock looking forward, but I think something more along the lines of perhaps learning lessons looking forward might be even more appropriate. And I'm very open to any other ideas and suggestions from my fellow MAG members on how we can best shape it. But I think that this theme is a really important one for this year, and I just wanted to raise it again. And for the benefit of those that didn't have a chance to read it, I'd be happy to repost it again with your permission. Thank you.
So thank you very much. Free flow of information is the fundamental principle of our work. No permission needed. Please feel free to post whatever you feel appropriate. I see Virat, Constance, and Andrea, and in that order, I will give the floor.
Mr. Chairman, I just to some of the points that Chengetai made, and I think this is important since we're discussing formats and numbers. I just wanted to put on record again to refresh memories very quickly. Last year, there were three 3-hour main sessions, and all those main sessions were running to the brim. In fact, in 2 of the main sessions, there was standing room only, namely access and evolution of the IG ecosystems and role of the IGF that was organized by Madeline and Subi Chaturvedi. The net neutrality main session was also 3 hours, and we could have gone on for 2 more, and nobody left the room. So I think this perception that we have that main sessions are not useful is actually being defied by the people who actually sat in those rooms day after day for 3 hours all the way to day 3. Even the one on iron transition was 80% full. Admittedly, the rooms are slightly smaller, so it will help to understand how big the main session room is in, I wouldn't take the name because now everybody's worried. But we want to go through a practice session in lunch. We want to do that. And I think that the best practice main session actually was the sort of thinnest attended, about 50%. So I just want to make sure that we are not walking away altogether from 3-hour sessions because some of these require discussions, and we shouldn't make the flow of all the workshops into the main session a precondition, because some main sessions will occur on the morning of day 2, and there would be no opportunity like access last time, but it was full. So we can pick one of the main sessions, perhaps the one that my distinguished colleague Cheryl just mentioned, which is IGF at 10, which can bring in a lot of high-level speakers since they'll already be there on day 2 morning, and also national and regional IGFs to come and talk about what they have learned and what they want to do, maybe 2-minute interventions. That seems like a really good program to get a lot of people involved and listen to people and what they have to say. Thank you.
So thank you. Actually, equally, orientation session also could be sort of seen in that light, and we could easily during, not orientation session, but setting the scene session also could be seen in that light, and then could be used, not necessarily should be, but could be used also for taking stock on previous 10 years of experience. Constance, please.
Thank you very much. So if we have too many main sessions overall, one way forward perhaps could be to gather in a unique main session the discussion about the best practice forums, dynamic coalitions, connecting the next billion, but then we would need more than 90 minutes. We would need 2 hours, maybe 3 hours, and it would be a main session where we would present the outputs of this year's intersessional activities. If that feeds into the taking stock main session, why not? But it could be a nice moment where we present the work achieved during the year overall.
So thank you. While you are also proposing, I would be also interested in hearing reactions to different suggestions that have been put forward. Andrea, please. Andrea Sachs.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Initially, and I'm still of this view, I quite liked the idea of having a session on dynamic coalitions. However, I take Marilyn's concept that not everybody might want to sit through all of them, and that perhaps separating them a little bit might not be a bad idea. As all of you know, my baby is disability and persons with disabilities and access. And we did have one, like the previous speaker talking about having a full session in Sharm el-Sheikh, where we had a main session on disability, which was also packed. And my feeling is that even though we thought that it might be a good idea, we could at least get disability out there a little more visibly instead of having it under inclusiveness and diversity, which it gets buried in. And my other thought from the comments that have been made to me in the Dynamic Coalition in our captioned conference calls, that we would like accessibility and disability to be an actual topic, full stop, all the time, because it's going to hit every single one of you if you get over 50. So and a lot of us in this room are already there. And the point being, it's going to impact all of you someday, somehow, some way, even if it's just a friend who has a problem. So it is an extremely important topic. So I'm throwing this out there without a solution. I'd be real happy if there was a dynamic coalition meeting for everybody to participate. I also think Marilyn's comments are valid. I also would like to have another session like I had in Sharm el-Sheikh, where I could get people with disabilities and get the new technology really exposed and have them make comments and participate to a larger audience. So those are my thoughts, and maybe having a classification of accessibility and disability as a separate classification, just like the other ones. Thank you.
So thank you very much. Remote participant.
We have two submissions. The first one is from Subi. Two recollections, one suggestion. The first one is IGF at 10. The second topic of national and regional IGFs, they deserve a main, and we deserve a main, not just a quiet roundtable, but a structured session. And 3, exploring the IGF and what's in it for governments. This will help us retain senior government heads and get them to travel for the session. That was the first, and the second one is from Haskell Sharp. And it goes like this. Since the last IGF, there have been discussions for the IGF to validate output or statements of the dynamic coalitions. Would the MAG please provide some clarity on what is meant by the term validate and what process the MAG proposes for the IGF to validate the output of dynamic coalitions?
So thank you very much for these suggestions and questions. Michael?
Just a few comments. I wanted to strongly support Cheryl Miller's suggestion for a main session on lessons learned going forward, and note that of all the proposals we considered, the 2 proposals that got very strong support, one of them was number 150 and the other one was 82. They were the 4th and 5th most popular, and they were looking directly at the question that Cheryl mentioned. The one problem, though, is that in order to have a really good discussion, we should have some IGF skeptics, or at least people to ask questions, really hard questions about how we can make IGF better. By the nature of this process, most of the people coming to João Pessoa are going to be people who are very supportive of IGF. But I do think a main session would be more likely to bring skeptics. You might be more likely to get some high-level government people there, particularly if you do this on the first day after the high-level event. I would argue, though, that having a main session and all of the other proposals to look at IGF as workshops might be overkill. And I don't think we want to do all of this, having main sessions and do all the workshops in this area, and instead combine them. Second issue is on the dynamic coalitions, and I strongly agree that having a grab bag session, the main session where all the different dynamic coalitions come together and talk about what they're doing, would not get you a very good or well-engaged audience. You want to have more focused discussions around the topics that those dynamic coalitions have. And I do think the main sessions can be very helpful if we have them focused enough on a particular key topic that people will actively engage, and we're not just trying to have a bunch of reports.
So thank you. Marcos Kumar.
Thank you. Yes, picking up on a few of the comments, starting with Marilyn, who questioned the need for a main session on dynamic coalitions. Yes, I fully agree. There are different dynamic coalitions. They're different in nature. There's not a one-size-fits-all model. But the problem we have is that for the past, 9 years ago, I think, to the month, in this very same building, we came to the conclusion that dynamic coalitions would be the way forward, as there was no agreement to have some kind of IGF working groups. And they have evolved over the years outside the mainstream IGF. Some of them have done very good work, and Andrea teed it up very nicely. The Dynamic Coalition on Accessibility have actually produced guidelines, and we have tried over the years to bring them mainstream. Sharm el-Sheikh was a very good example, but they were never actually endorsed as IGF guidelines. They're the guidelines of the dynamic coalitions. And there, I think I would pick up on what Kostas said. We need some kind of plenary session where we bring the intersessional work and the work that was developed on the margins back to the mainstream, and that would not necessarily be a substantive session, but more of a formal recognition of that work in whatever way we will do. And we also have to recognize that some of the work that has developed may have been controversial and may not find the approval of the mainstream IGF community. However, we will have, I think the dynamic coalitions are on the agenda of tomorrow's meeting. There's obviously more discussion needed for that, but I think for the time being, to have a placeholder in for one main session where we can bring the intersessional work, and that includes the best practice forums, that includes the dynamic coalition, and that includes the work on connecting the next billion back to the mainstream in a way which would be more akin to a plenary in a traditional UN context. Now, I know that sounds a bit boring. That's what we wanted to go away from when we started the IGF, but if we embark on intersessional work, we have to find some way of linking it to the IGF.
So thank you, Marcos. If you noted, Chengeta is photographing all of you, especially those who are sleeping now. So I will give first floor to those who have not spoken yet, and ICC basis is first on my list. Elizabeth, please.
Thank you. My name is Elizabeth Thomas Reno, and I represent ICC basis members from the International Chamber of Commerce. I just wanted to add our support for the proposal that main session topics should be of a substantial nature and of appeal to a wider audience. We would definitely support the idea of an IGF at 10 main session and like the reorientation of it towards lessons learned as opposed to a taking stock session. I think it's important. This approach could actually have more appeal to high-level stakeholders that might come to the event if placed at the appropriate time. And definitely it's the right year for us to showcase what the IGF, this sort of multi-stakeholder on equal footing experiment has yielded. And I would agree with Mike that it would be important to bring up those devil's advocate arguments that could be presented and discussed and debated in this context openly and courageously, but at the same time, there is a lot that can be called together and discussed in, I think, what would prove a very meaty session.
So thank you. Susan?
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to follow up on something that Mike Nelson had said with regard to workshop proposals of similar subject matter across that shares similar subject matter with main sessions. As we work through our evaluations tomorrow, may I suggest that we be open to the idea of, when we're discussing merging proposals, we consider merging proposals on the same subject matter into a main session if we feel that there is an opportunity to do so. So I think this would help us with two different objectives. First of all, this could help us conserve MAG resources. Last year, MAG members played quite an intensive role in organizing the main session workshops. So those resources could also be used to combine or merge similar proposals, and this way we could also increase diversity and participation by including more people. Thank you.
So thank you very much. Remote participant.
Thank you. There is one tiny addition from Subi on proposal number 4 on emerging issues session, and equal emphasis on policy questions at main session and formats. We need to work on interactivity from day one and not as an afterthought.
Okay, thank you. UNESCO.
Thank you, Chair. I think this discussion about main sessions is very useful because, yes, it's quite challenging to make it more attractive and well-attended and actually useful. I think at some point in the past IGF that we had built up the reporting component into the main session, which means that since there are so many parallel workshops in the IGF, nobody can really manage to attend all their interests at once. So it can be a useful exchange point to share all the outcomes from different workshops. So maybe I would suggest at the end of the day we have a main session to allow the workshop organizer to give a very brief report on their discussions. I've seen some good practice from the regional IGF like Eurodig. I was quite impressed by their reporting session, which is well attended and help the participant to exchange the major discussions. And same as the UNESCO conference Connecting Dots in March. I remember our reporting sessions in the afternoon was also very well attended. We allow every workshop organizer to prepare just 5 minutes reporting. It can help. Thank you.
So thank you very much. Izumi?
Thank you, Chair. This is Izumi speaking. I very much like the idea that Marcus has shared in terms of we may want to have some kind of streams of discussions which took place in dynamic coalitions and possibly some of the best practices forums. And maybe also have like a broad sense of wrap-up of what has been discussed during the week and the direction forward. Because one of the comments that I hear about the IGF is that since there are such a large number of workshops and topics which has been discussed during the week, which is a very good thing in terms of diversity, it's also quite difficult to get an overall sense of what has been discussed. And so I actually feel that giving this kind of like a main session which would give a wrap-up and feed into what has been discussed would be really helpful in giving some specific takeaways, not in terms of decision-making or negotiation way, but it would give a good idea of people to remember and highlight on the core points that has been discussed and hint what would be a helpful way forward. Thank you.
So thank you, Izumi. Juan Fernandez.
Thank you. I have a question first because I'm inexperienced in this MAC work, and also I have a comment afterwards. The question is that, for me, I have not clear what is the difference between the main session and a regular workshop. Quantitative, that it's in a larger hall and with more time, or is some qualitative difference between the main session and a workshop? And I ask this question because a main session will be sessioning in parallel with workshops. So people that goes to a main session has to stop going from a workshop. So I think that we should, at least I don't have clear what is the difference in that sense. And the comment that I want, or my recommendation, is around the lines that previously was given by Susan, that we have to look at the planning of this in a holistic way, in a complement with the workshops, because it is not reasonable to have workshops in the same topic going at the same time of a main session of the same topic. So we have to take that into account. And also I strongly support Susan's suggestion that if we find during the examination of the workshop that there are many workshops in the same topic, maybe that could be put all together in a main session, and then we will have a main session that the success is already guaranteed because it's been sponsored by many presenters and many participants. So that's the thing, a question about the differences and that recommendation to do this planning not independently from the workshops.
So thank you very much. In responding to your question, yes, indeed, these sessions are special. They are different from workshops. The first difference is that they are organized by the MAG, and they're suggested by the MAG based on best assessment, what are the most important issues that IGF should address. That's point number one. Point number two, they have gone through different iterations. Initially, they were reflecting fully the sub-themes of IGF, identified sub-themes of IGF. They were organized as a federating sessions that every workshop on specific sub-theme could feed the information in that session and so on. Not necessarily that worked all the time, and gradually we have sort of departed from idea that main sessions should be federating sessions. Some of them still are, some of them are not, but they are linked with the sub-themes in one way or another, or some very important themes for the MAG. For instance, 2 years ago, the main session was organized around privacy, in a direct response to events that were revealed not long before. So this is the main difference. And the MAG has been in charge of those preparations and remain in charge also this year. So I see Jack is asking for the floor.
Hi, my name is Jack. I'm from APC. I just wanted to respond to a main session around dynamic coalitions. I think that I will support the proposal around having a main session that sort of brings together all of the different intersessional work. And this will include the dynamic coalition work as well as the PPF work, and for the reason that was stated, which is to really recognize the work that's done at the margins and bringing it into sort of like the mainstream. And the second reason is also to kind of facilitate deeper and more engaged conversations between different dynamic coalitions. I think that was also discussed in the last night meeting, and it would be good to see how we can think about a process or methodology that can actually support this happening, that is much more participatory, for example, like a facilitated World Cafe session where different dynamic coalitions are acting as lead discussants, or other things that we can explore. So, yeah, thanks.
So thank you very much. Leah?
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Chair. First, let me just support what Jack was just saying, her intervention, and support for that framing of a main session focused on the intersessional activities and highlighting the work of the intersessional work. I would like to go back to and make a proposal for consideration of the community here and MAG members for a potential main session that would focus on something that I know a number of people here have already said is a crucial event in the IG ecosystem, which is the WSIS, which is WSIS plus 10 review process. Having gone through I know we're going to talk about workshop evaluations in the next couple of days, but having gone through the proposals, unfortunately there aren't any that actually address a WSIS review, and I think it is really crucial for the IGF community to have that on the agenda, and I do think that it would merit a place as a main session, although I do defer to more experienced members in terms of criteria is what makes, how to frame the session that would make it most relevant for the community. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much. For technical purposes, I would like to ask MAG members to speak slightly louder that interpreters can hear, and also people helping us to transcribe what we're saying. I have still a number of requests for the floor. ICANN, Virat, Cheryl, Mark, and Bill. In that order, please. Nigel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Nigel Hickson, ICANN. I'll be very brief because I think Leah has already mentioned it. I think it would be extremely opportune, indeed somewhat odd, if we didn't have a main session on the WSIS plus 10 review process. And indeed, Mr. Chairman, I think in our last meeting in December, although I might be thinking of another meeting, we did talk about the possibility, of course, by November of, we'll be some way down the track of having or inviting the co-facilitators to the IGF meeting, and therefore having a main session in which they could take part and share their thoughts and update us on the developments in the Intergovernmental Committee that's going to be putting together the draft resolution for the UNGA and other associated documents. I think will be incredibly useful. I mean, of course, the IGF is being held at the end of the negotiation process, but even so, I think a focus on it will be incredibly useful. Thank you.
So thank you very much. If I may ask Secretariat not to play around with the sound, and then there will be 2 hours to resolve technical problems during the lunchtime. We need sound, we need transcription.
That's the transcribers. We lost the connection. We can't get it back.
So thank you very much. Sorry for interruption. I think because time is running, we need to continue our conversation, and I will invite Cheryl, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to thank Subi, Mike, and ICC Basis for their support. Mike, actually, some of the points that he raised, I think, were very thoughtful and could definitely help to better flesh out the session. I also, to Susan's point, would welcome having workshops to contribute to this main session, and I would actually like to volunteer to help facilitate it and to help facilitate that. I don't know if there's someone from civil society or academia or one of the other stakeholder groups that would be interested in helping to co-facilitate, but I just posed that as a question to the group. And my thought is that we could possibly hold this main session on the morning of day 2. Would like to hear thoughts and comments on that. If we don't have time here, perhaps we can do it, via the email discussion. Also, I wanted to raise support for Andrea's intervention. I do think the accessibility and disability track is a very important one. I think there's a lot that many companies and governments and different organizations are working on, and there's still a lot that we can learn sort of from what we're doing and what still needs to be done in that area. And I definitely don't want to see that slip back onto the back burner, so to speak. Thank you.
So thank you, Cheryl. Virat?
Chairman, I just wanted to add support and try and sort of bring some concrete ideas on the table for us to think through to the lunch. I think to Constance's point about combining intersessional work and best practice forums, which is a year-long work, in a 3-hour, and it'll take 3 hours to do this on maybe day 3 is a good idea. They get 2 days and day 0 to do additional work there if more needs to be done, to then have a really good 3-hour session combining. Otherwise, last year we had best practice themselves and slightly thinly attended, but this is a really good idea to have one 3-hour long session. And then I'm not sure if dynamic coalitions can be a part of this or separate, but I think we need to sort of get that in. I think another one which is at IGF at 10, lessons learned as you move forward. I think that will be an ideal platform for high-level speakers. It could combine what is in it for governments, because that's a really good point that Subi made. The one on governments at Bali, I think, was extremely well attended. There was a very innovative session, full room. So maybe you can combine with this, bring in those speakers, get the theme right, and that's 3 hours maybe on day 2, morning or afternoon. And then a 90-minute session on VISIS plus 10 review that Leah spoke about, and I can support it. I think that also seems to be a concrete idea. And I think I just want to go back to Susan's point about bringing in workshops that have talked about IGF at 10 and bring them into this discussion and bring those contributions in a substantive manner, and that'll need time. So 2 3-hour sessions, one 90-minute and maybe one more 90-minute as we evolve after lunch. I just want to say that to Mike's point about skeptics, you will find several of those will be there. They will make very concrete points. Last year at the Evolution at IGF session, which Subi and Madeline organized, several spoke from the floor, and very long, substantive, meaningful interventions were made. And so we should keep time to go to the floor and invite delegates, and that always allows for substantive pieces to come in. Last comment, and IGF at 10 could also be the place to get conclusive work from the outreach group that has been working, because they're looking at a number of pieces to be done, and this probably is the session in which they could bring in all the contributions towards the end of the year. So 2 3-hour, 1 90-minute, and then we could discuss one more. Thank you.
So thank you very much. I think we're getting already very close to a good proposal. Mark, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Mark Carvalho, United Kingdom Government. A couple of quick comments. With regard to the proposal for a session on the IGF and the value of it for governments and government participation and so on, I think that's a good idea, but it seems more ideal for day 0, in particular bearing in mind the programming of the IGF. It's not going to be easy if you want ministers and high-level officials to contribute to that if it's on day 2 or day 3, because it's unrealistic to expect a minister or high-level official to spend more than 2 days at the IGF. So I would suggest that be considered as a potential high-level meeting topic for day 0. I agree with and support Marcus Kummer's suggestion for a session that brings together the dynamic coalitions, the best practice and the next billion agenda. I think that's good in terms of developing the IGF's profile as output orientated. I think it's a great idea to bring that together in a single session towards the end of the IGF. Thirdly, open mic session, I think that's good, but also towards the end of the IGF program, perhaps on the morning of the final day. It's good to hear from stakeholders on issues that have been raised or gaps maybe identified during the course of the IGF, and that's the value of an open mic session, I think. And finally, a session on the WSIS plus 10 review of the implementation of the outcomes of the WSIS. I think that's highly valuable as well. Hopefully, there will have been stakeholder interaction in New York prior to the IGF. I think it's an opportunity also at the IGF for stakeholders to engage on the review and the prospects for the high-level meeting in New York in December. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Bill. Bill Drake.
Thank you. I like the idea very much of an IGF at 10 assessment. I think that that's a very good idea given the desire to bring this to the attention of governments more. I also wanted to strongly support the idea of the WSIS plus 10 session. I think that, you know, for people who are really inside the diplomatic community and closely following these things, they may have a sense for what's happening and what the modalities for participation will be and how stakeholders can get interventions, input into the process, et cetera. But I think for a lot of other people, really, they won't know what's happening in WSIS plus 10, and yet this is going to be a very significant meeting. And it could be that there will be quite a bit said there of relevance to internet governance generally and the IGF in particular. And so I think that, you know, given that going to New York and engaging directly that way may not be the most amenable thing for everyone, the IGF coming a month before the UNGA provides a really perfect opportunity for people to mobilize, recognize what's happening, get informed, and express some views around these things. And so I would very much support that initiative. Thanks.
So thank you. Remote participant.
Subi notes that main sessions are key to the program alongside workshops, and that MAG members remain heavily invested in the preparatory process working up to 6 months. It is also a way of drawing attention to important and key issues by putting them under spotlight and calling them main. Also another suggestion for the main session team from Tunis to Brazil, defining rightful roles and responsibilities of stakeholders in the IG. She's also suggesting that the government session should be on day 1, and that she would be happy to facilitate it, but not on day 0. Because if it was on day 0, it would be out of the formal program. And Subi thanks Mike for the support.
So thank you very much. Marilyn?
Thank you, Chair. Marilyn Cade speaking. I also want to support the importance of a WSIS plus 10 session, but I'd like to perhaps add a couple of additional elements of information, and perhaps some of us who are very close to this might even also post some information to the full list. If we are going to do a real consultation at the IGF, I think we should remember that we've done something like that in 2010 when we held a special consultation session that I believe was held at a particular unique period so that it did not compete with the rest of the program. If we integrate it into the program, and I personally favor our integrating it into the program, I would just note that it is not just the 2 co-facilitators that we should invite, but also the PGA's office. If you read the UN Resolution 68/302, and I will post it to the list, it is the PGA's office who is responsible for consultation with the stakeholders. So it would be helpful to have representation from both who would be able to interact with the community. But I think, again, if we expect this to be a consultation, we should realize that the zero draft will be published, and we should decide if we're going to be making comments on the zero draft, or we are going to be making general comments that we hope the co-facilitators and the PGA office will listen to. I'm very interested in this topic and interested in working with others to consider what the options are. My final comment is going to be to suggest that perhaps we should consider looking at the use of the foresight approach. I heard a comment earlier from Jack about the World Cafe approach. That typically uses a foresight approach. There's been some really effective uses of that recently at CSTD. It's also been trialed in some of the WSIS forums, and it might offer a approach that could be augmenting the consultation with the co-facilitators and the PGA's office if they in fact are able to attend. We must remember we are both webcast and transcribed, so that even if it turns out that someone from New York doesn't attend, we will have information that would still be useful to be able to package up, summarize, and provide to the missions in New York.
So thank you very much. I think that this question is beyond our control. The proposal is made, and we know that PGA is changing in September, and we will have a new PGA who might have his own views on the, how to better implement the decision that was made by General Assembly. It would be useful, in my view, to have a placeholder for that type of engagement. Again, that is our collective decision. I see Virat and then UNESCO. Virat, please.
Chairman, I wanted to, in view of the points Mark made, I think it's an important intervention that we should try and get maximum number of senior level government officers to participate, officials to participate in the IGF plus 10. So here's my recommendation. Since day 0 is not considered formal IGF, I would say setting the scene is perfectly positioned to move to day 0 rather than day 1, second half as it's currently showing up, because that also allows people to get additional information about the entire IGF on day 0 afternoon. Anytime, it's probably a 2-hour session. It's one of the many parallel sessions. A group of IGF people MAG, try and get and organize that. We can also work with the local community there and the host country to see how we can best organize this in terms of information. And then following the opening ceremony on day 1, we should hold the IGF at 10, which is guaranteed, at least for that day. Anybody that we want to target for opening ceremony would also be available for IGF at 10. I also request our Brazilian friends to delay all flights beyond 6 o'clock on that day. Just bad weather. And then on day 2, if I could recommend the morning or afternoon of intersessional work and WSIS plus 10, because WSIS plus 10 also requires, as Bill Drake pointed out, people to be in it and have discussions, and some of those for day 1 who are staying on. So we should try and get these in day 1 and day 2, in the first and second half, and then decide if you want any more main sessions for day 3 or 4. That's probably the way to structure this and get the best attendance, both the way of speakers and interest of the delegates attending. Thank you.
So thank you very much for helping structure all the proposals that have been made. UNESCO, please.
Thank you, Chair. I want to echo with many colleagues about the idea of discussing WSIS plus 10 review process in IGF is really very much crucial at this turning point year of 2015. As we all know that there will be a WSIS forum 2015 next week to take place in ITU. It's really to connect the WSIS process with the post-2015 development goals. So this can be a very visionary discussion to see how IGF contribute to those development goals as we are envisaging for the forthcoming 15 years. And Also, from the side of UNESCO, I like to share updates on this. As you know, we are complementing. We are doing an internet study mandated by our member states. We have organized a Connected Dots conference to discuss the first draft, and also one major outcome from the conference is the outcome document. Maybe many of you have already noticed. Just 1 month ago, our executive board meeting, consisting of 58 member states, has agreed to submit this outcome document to the UNGA, the General Assembly, to be a part of WSIS Plus 10 review process. In this outcome document, we have affirmed our commitment to the ongoing value of the WSIS review process, including the Internet Governance Forum. So I think it's really the timing to integrate with this review process with the IGF process, since at the beginning is a part of the WSIS, and UNESCO is ready to contribute since we are facilitating 6 action lines of WSIS action line implementation. Thank you.
So thank you very much. I see no immediate requests for the floor, and we're approaching time of lunch, and it is very dangerous for the chair to stand between lunch and the participants of the meeting. So therefore, I would like to conclude this session, open consultations, where everyone who asked for the floor, being MAG members or non-MAG members, were offered that opportunity, express themselves. With the following conclusion. I gathered from this last part of the conversation that we have a fairly good idea what type of main sessions we could organize, and that is on IGF plus 10 as proposed by Cheryl and supported by many. It might be WSIS plus 10 review in the context of contribution and multi-stakeholder consultations organized by PGA, provided that PGA will take up this opportunity. And that was also a main session on outcomes that was suggested to combine different type of sessions like best practices, like dynamic coalitions, and next billion policy menus. Nevertheless, I think it would be useful maybe to think in terms of placing those sessions in the meeting schedule, and therefore I would like to suggest that those MAG members who are interested in continuing this discussion in an informal group format together in this room at 2 o'clock. And I asked Benedicto, and now I'm asking also Virat, to co-facilitate this conversation, that at 3 o'clock we could have a proposal that we could continue discuss and identify those volunteers who would like to be in charge of preparations for those sessions. I would also like to say that we need not to strive to fill every main session with a topic. You know that one of the best cheeses in the world are Swiss cheeses, and most of the Swiss cheeses are full with holes, and that's the beauty. So let's leave some holes also in the schedule of main sessions, because there might be a situation that something unexpected will come up at the last minute where we will badly need some adjustments, so we may do it also that way. So with saying that, I wish all of you bon appetit, and those who are interested, please come back at 2. All others, please come back at 3. We will start sharply. Thank you.